Listen, it's great to be with everybody. We're going to start. It's great to see everybody here. I did ask folks to come around today. We are making continuing the process of making some initial suggestions to the legislature on commissionerships. Today, I'm very proud to be able to nominate a gentleman who I have come to know and respect personally and professionally. The gentleman I'm referring to served as a state trooper in this state for 22 years, having held a number of important posts throughout that 22-year period, and having been recognized for his talent as a major, as a trooper. I will also fully disclose that he's another Brooklyn connection, so you might see that. Actually, that just is happenstance. Reuben is an exceptional individual. Not only did he serve the state of Connecticut for 22 years previously, but upon his retirement joined the NFL, where he was one of the individuals in charge of security for the NFL, oversaw security for some of the biggest public events held in the nation over that time. During that period of time was required to coordinate protective services with Homeland Defense and other local communities, community forces, as well as other state forces. He has a great understanding of the needs of the department, has been an insider and an outsider, and is prepared, I think, to be an extraordinary commissioner for this department. One note, he does work for the NFL. He cannot join us on January 5th. He'll be joining us at some time following the completion of the NFL season at the Super Bowl. He'll be there. I won't. He was kind enough to come back on a red eye from an NFL security meeting yesterday. Got him back here a few hours ago so that we could make this announcement. I do want to say that to the men and women who work for in the state of Connecticut under the Department of Public Safety, they've done an extraordinary job. They are hardworking individuals. I've come to appreciate their work, and I think I am giving to them a great and seasoned leader to be the next commissioner of that department. With that, I'd like to introduce the gentleman who I've asked to take this responsibility, Reuben Bradford. Reuben?
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Governor-elect Malloy for this opportunity. It's not often that you get a chance to come full circle, and I want to thank the Governor-elect and his staff, in particular Roy Ocgrosso and Tim Bannon, for their consideration for this honor. It is truly an honor, like I said, to be able to come full circle and take on this mission that the governor has chosen for me to do.
With that, we're going to take some questions.
The state police were subject of a pretty scathing report in December of 2006 about internal affairs, how they were conducted. There's a backlog with the state police lab. What are the priorities that you as governor-elect and you as commissioner will have to, let me put it another way, what do you think needs to be done with the state police unit in particular right now?
Well, you know, I've identified some things. If you go back to that 2006 story and some of my work as mayor, I've thought that backlog needs to be closed. I do know to some extent it is a question of whether it's staffed or has the ability to cut that backlog significantly. Obviously, I've chosen someone who has a familiarity with the department, but also understands how things are done in other areas. And I hope that he brings that private sector perspective to apply to closing some of those backlogs.
One of the major points of that report, however, was that top state police officials routinely interfered with, tried to influence internal affairs investigations of some very serious complaints against troopers, ranging from drunk driving to providing a protection racket for drug dealers. No one, as far as we know, has been fired or disciplined yet. How much of a priority is fixing that situation?
Well, let me say this, and the commissioner designate can say anything he wants to. I'm aware of those reports. I commented on them back in 2006. But let me fully disclose that as I conducted myself with my police department and intend to conduct myself as governor of the state of Connecticut, I believe we hire the best. We identify a mission for them. We make sure they execute that mission. If for any reason they're unwilling or unable to finish that mission, then we move on to someone else. I've selected someone who I think will make the department sharp and glow. He will not be subject to political pressures from my office. I want to be very clear about that. I was very clear. The commissioner designate did not have to ask me whether I intended to run a political department. I don't. I won't. And I'm going to hold him to the standard of making sure that we can all be happy and proud of our efforts in the state of Connecticut in that department.
Yeah, and I look to create transparency. And one of the things that I came up through the ranks with was told that we in public service are held to a higher standard. And that's what we're going to do. And we're going to make sure that we create an area of transparency and do things that are the right way, correct way.
What is your opinion of fusion centers?
Let me go with fusion centers first. As you know, I attended governor training out in Colorado. It is clear to me that fusion centers have been both successful and less successful in states. There are models to follow. I think I might point to Baltimore and, Maryland as a state where fusion centers have been particularly helpful. The concept of fusion centers is to get everyone in one place, or in our state perhaps in two places, to share information, to share data, to be at the top of the game between local law enforcement agencies, the state agencies, national agencies as well. And I don't have an opinion currently with respect to the fusion center operation in the state of Connecticut. Suffice it to say that as mayor of the city of Stamford, we didn't have a whole lot of contact. I didn't have a whole lot of contact. It is an issue which we will examine. And obviously, if the federal government is putting money into fusion centers, I want to make sure that we're getting an optimal return in the state of Connecticut.
Mr. Bradford, what's your date of birth, please?
8/9/46.
How much were you making at the NFL, or are you making?
I don't think that's public information.
Are you going to be getting a raise or taking?
No. I'm going to be taking a significant pay cut.
How long, sir, have you worked for the NFL?
This is my 15th season, and in May it would have been 15 years, but I've been here 14 and a half years.
Have you had the same job during that entire time?
Well, I've had the same job, but my title has changed. I came in as the assistant director of security, was promoted to director, and subsequently promoted to senior director.
Are you primarily overseeing security at all of the NFL venues?
Well, what we do is we do everything that any other corporate security does. And in addition to that, we are responsible to make sure that our games and our venues and our various activities are safe. And as Governor-elect Malloy said in his opening address, that we work in conjunction with local, state, and federal law enforcement, homeland security, just to make sure that our events are extremely secure.
If you are taking a significant pay cut, then obviously there's something about this job that you find very attractive. So what would that be?
Public service, and like I mentioned, the ability to come full circle. I am, as I said, I gave you my date of birth, 64, turned 64 in August. Getting to the point where I was going to retire soon, but again, having an opportunity to come back into public service, which I enjoy doing, and I've been given this opportunity, so I wanted to take advantage of it. Yeah.
Go ahead.
How long do you, if you were planning on retiring in August, how long do you expect to stay here at this job?
He better stay 4 years. That's our understanding. I mean, actually, let me say it this way. He better stay a minimum of 4 years.
And again, time has been good to me as far as life experience. As you can see, when I came in the room, if my time in the 40 is not going to be the best in the room, because I do suffer from a physical disability, which is called ataxia. It in no way affects my ability to function, but it is a motor. It does affect my balance, and it didn't help that I had to peel myself out of that red eye this morning.
The department, though, I believe the state is still facing discrimination lawsuits from several officers, minority officers, who felt they didn't get a fair shake at promotions. Are you worried about that? Do you think that's a serious problem?
Let me answer this one. Since it involves litigation, it suffices to say that the commissioner is charged with understanding those lawsuits, in making sure that the department is run in such a way that we would be unlikely to be subject of such lawsuits in the future. And with respect to any outstanding litigation, we'll wait to make any comment till a later date, if we make any comment at that point.
Mr. Bradley, we can ask that a different way. In your 22 years with the state police, what would you say was the best and the worst elements of state police culture in this state?
The best is, again, the opportunity to serve the public, and to all the men and women in that agency, and those that put their lives on the line every day. That's a tremendous sacrifice, and it's a great honor and a privilege to do that. I really can't come up with a worst case scenario, and again, I haven't really thought about it from that perspective, but.
Challenging aspect,
Well, I think the most challenging aspect confronting us now is obviously with the budget the way it is, and again, attempting to do things and straighten things out administratively within the agency. That's going to be the biggest challenge.
Let me just say one other thing on the biggest challenge. As you know, I've expressed concern about the inability to have an appropriate information technology available to this department and other departments. We are committed, my administration is committed to straightening that out, to moving forward with the installation of such a system. I know that it was a question with respect to funding recently. My direction on January 5th will be to all parties concerned that we move directly to modernizing the information technology availability or system for this department and related departments.
Minority yourself, you were in the department for 22 years. Did you ever feel you faced discrimination?
Yes, but again, it was overcome. And I think it says a lot to the governor-elect that he's made the selection. The fact that I'm African-American, I think, pretty much speaks for itself. But I think the real credit should go to the governor-elect for having the courage to make that selection.
How big of an operation do you run at the NFL? How many employees you got? How big of a, what is the scope of it?
Well, the scope of it is that there are currently approximately 400 employees in New York. We have a similar contingent of people in Los Angeles. There's a slightly smaller contingent down in New Jersey, NFL Films. Our network is in L.A. We have 32 teams comprised of 32 teams comprised of players, coaches, front office people, administration people. So it's quite. We have offices throughout the world. We have offices in Mexico, Tokyo, London. So it's quite an extensive operation.
How about the security element? How big is that?
Well, the security element, again, gets into all of those aspects I just mentioned. We're responsible to make sure that the television facilities in L.A. are secure. Our NFL Films down in New Jersey, our building in New York on Park Avenue. And again, with our facilities and stadiums and club facilities around the country.
How about staffing? The security staff. I mean, when the 400, you're referring to NFL, overall NFL employees.
Right. The security staff within the New York office or headquarters of the NFL, there are currently 8 full-time employees. Now, we operate with subcontractors around the country, which actually serve as our eyes and ears. They're not employees of the league, but they are subcontractors and they work for us. So we have 35 security reps around the league to help us administer security for that operation.
Since you brought it up, what does NFL security do in Tokyo?
We have an office. Again, what do they do? Well, they're charged with promoting the brand. Again, being a private organization, interested in promoting its brand and expanding its brand so that it can be more profitable.
I'll take one last question, then I got to go.
You did talk, you've made commitments to diversity. There are groups and people who keep close tabs as administrations unfold.
You didn't want to use the word score in relation to the NFL?
Well, I was trying to avoid that.
I thought you were.
So what can you tell us about your approach and your sensitivity to having an administration that, I guess, represents all of Connecticut?
Well, I'm obviously I said I would do that. I am doing that. I have to tell you that I've been aware of the gentleman that I've selected for this position for some period of time, and respect him because of what he did in Connecticut and what he did post-Connecticut work. I think what we're going to do is roll out nominations as we have finished those nominations, whether that's a background check or the person being able to say that they've discussed it appropriately with their manager or their head of their company. We're not keeping score by category. What I'm trying to do is staff immediately and as quickly as possible commissionerships. Once those commissioners' designates are in, they'll begin the process of choosing their staff. Some departments have more appointed political staff than others, and that'll move along appropriately. So, and I've already given notice that there are a number of jobs that I don't anticipate we will fill by January 5th. So, we're going to be filling more jobs. There'll be more announcements in the days to come. We'll fill, I think, a number of jobs before January 5th, but we won't fill them all.
Mr. Bradford, could you give us a brief summary of your experience in the state police? I mean, how many, what barracks you were coming up the ranks?
Right. I graduated from training academy in 1974. Was a patrol sergeant. Was a patrol trooper at Troop F in Westbrook. Was a supervisory sergeant at Bethany Troop I barracks. Was a master sergeant and a sergeant at the statewide narcotics task force where I handled grants administration. I was the commanding officer of Troop G in Westport. I was also the commanding officer of the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, which includes narcotics and casino gambling and the like. And I was also commanding officer of the Eastern and Central Districts, as well as chief of staff for former Commissioner Bernie Sullivan. And one last thing I'd like to say thank you to current Commissioner Skip Thomas, who has graciously agreed to stay on past the 5th until I can get there. Again, I felt after having spent almost 15 years with the league, a sense of obligation. There's certain things that I need to get cleared up, and the governor again was most gracious in being considerate of that and allowing me to do that. So again, I'd like to thank current Commissioner Skip Thomas for agreeing to stay on board.
Thank you very much. Great to be with you. Thank you.